Hello, everyone. Welcome to Boots in Transition, a veteran's survival guide. I'm here today. I'm talking with Fort Valor. Jeff Baughman is the deputy director. They are a brand new veteran center in Tarpon Springs, do a lot of things for the community. And I want to introduce Jeff and find out what Fort Valor is. So, Jeff, welcome to Boots in Transition. What is Fort Valor?
Hey, Chris, first off, thanks for having us on here and giving us a platform to get the message out. As to what Fort Valor is, we are a community center here in Tarpon Springs, Florida, dedicated to helping veterans and first responders transition and deal with the troubles in their job. We do that. One of our primary focuses, the instruction of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. We are a 100% free facility. We have a nice gaming lounge. It's just a community center where we have a ton of activities, and we assist vets and first responders with anything ranging from benefits to job assistance to whatever they need. It's an open, creative, collaborative center where we try to make things happen.
Okay, so you are 100% free. That's for veterans, and first responders.
Yes.
How does that work? You guys are a nonprofit, right?
Yes, we're a nonprofit. Our 501c3 application, because we're brand new, we just started in November, is pending right now, waiting approval for the IRS, but we are a registered nonprofit. So right now we are fortunate to be privately funded through our corporate sponsor, which is Syndaver Labs in Tampa. And one of the owners there is our founder and president, Ali Sakulis.
Okay, so why? Why do you guys? What's your big why? What are you trying to accomplish with? Well, let's start with, because you guys have multifaceted. I think we'll take this apart different ways. And of course, my passion. Anyone who's ever listened to this show knows I always end up working Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And why Brazilian Jiu Jitsu?
So our founder, who actually isn't even a veteran, but her father is a veteran. Her father-in-law was a Marine in World War II. She was training jiu-jitsu out at Gracie, Tampa here locally with a guy named Brock Hooten, who is formerly in Ranger Regiment. He's a great guy, and he had explained to her how much and how important Brazilian jiu-jitsu is in his path. And I don't want to speak for him, but basically how it had saved his life. And he felt that Brazilian jiu-jitsu would be a perfect thing to bring to all veterans. And so she had this idea, and she had the drive and the intensity to make this happen. So she just wanted to deliver that. And it's kind of grown into some of the other things that we'll get into later. But that was the primary focus for Fort Valor, is she wanted to bring Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to really help reduce those effects of PTSD. And anybody who's done Jiu-Jitsu for a period of time can, obviously testify to how great of an effect that has on them. But that's really what started this place. And then we just got, like I said, we just got up and running in November. So we're slowly but surely bringing it to the masses.
Okay, so let's. I know not everybody who follows this podcast does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. What is it about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I'll call it a therapy. That's what I use it for, as a therapy. Why is it such a good therapy for guys with or girls with PTSD, depression, you name it?
Yeah, and another note with, it's not just PTSD. One thing that I found, and I don't have a background. My background is as an attorney. I've been an attorney for about 10 years here in Florida, and I've been training jiu-jitsu. I think I told you earlier, I'm heading into my 5th year. I'm finding that it's not just PTSD that our veterans are dealing with. There's a significant amount of MSTs, which is military sexual trauma, and it's an alarming number. I mean, it's a higher number than I ever thought. And so what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does for these men and women, our veterans, is it really teaches them how to be a warrior again. If I had to sum it up in one thing, it's how to be a warrior again. All right. They were taught that by the military. They trained it. They lived it. They served it. But they have to get that back, because when they got out, something happened. They lost that ability. And maybe they, weren't given those tools. But I don't know. There's a magic in it that I think it's part of the resiliency. I think it's part of getting beat down, getting back up, and getting back on your feet. I've read a lot. I was talking recently with one of the researchers out at USF, because they just completed a study on the therapeutic effects of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on veterans with PTSD. And that's going to be published here in the next couple months in the Military Science Journal. So
Okay.
I wish I had a full copy of it. I just had talked to the researchers, so I kind of knew about some of the findings. And
Yeah, I read about when they started that last year. It was,
yeah.
they're looking for volunteers, but I couldn't figure out how to get a hold of it. I've been trying to find that myself, so it's coming out. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I've been talking about. So I'm sorry. So go ahead with so the effects. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And so what it is we have the ability. I think in most veterans, and like I said, my background and military background is I was an infantry squad leader. So, so that's slightly different than some of the, obviously that's one job out of hundreds in the military. But I think as a default, most veterans are kind of a default aggressive. It's an all or nothing type mentality. So even post military life, when they get upset, it's 0 to 100 real quick, because that's what saved them. That's what kept them alive. That's what made them successful. And that doesn't fit well in civilian life. And Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is about control, and it's about timing and pacing and being able to do things with the right amount of aggression at the right amount at the right time. And you kind of learn that, by default. And, to me, it's a lot about control. It's about that confidence that you get by being able to control a grown man who's bigger than you, who's younger than you, better in shape, and just leveraging technique and being able to control that. And if I can control that, that means I've learned how to relax. I've learned how to breathe, and I don't even have to be violent. I have that ability to just dial it back down. And it's a great thing.
I found for myself when I kind of stumbled on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu as a therapy back around 2011, 2012. I lose track of the date. That there's a moment when you're getting smashed and you're trying to Hulk out, you're trying to use your aggression, and you realize that it's counterproductive. And something clicks and you start to think your way out of the problem. I tell people when I'm training with people, it's like, okay, find the point of the pressure, and you don't have to fight the whole problem. You fight the point of the pressure. You find the escape and you get out. And I would find later on, maybe I was in traffic, maybe I was having a moment where I was stressed out, that I could pull myself back into that moment and find the stressor and analytically take apart what was bothering me. And that had an overall calming effect. It's hey, I'm not freaking out because everything's wrong. I'm freaking out because this one thing is wrong, and now I can focus on it and take that edge off. Plus, after you get done with any kind of hard training session, be it jujitsu, running, lifting, whatever, you get that moment of calm. You get like a little bit of time where you can think about what your problems are. So I found two facets of jujitsu in that way helped me a lot. But it's interesting. I hadn't thought of the sexual trauma, and every time I have these conversations, something new comes up. How does that work? If someone, I can imagine someone with sexual trauma dealing with something like the guard, which is looks like an intimate position. I mean, people who aren't familiar with it, see it as they don't see the danger of the hips. So how does that work with the sexual trauma?
Yeah, and that's one thing that it's one of our success stories. We had a female veteran, and I don't know her backstory, sexual trauma or not, when you're a female, the situation when you're in the guard or in mount, it's a very any school you go into, it's uncomfortable at first. And I remember when she first came in to us, she was very nervous about trying jujitsu, and she was in the Air Force for a long time. Obviously, a very confident person, a tough woman. But that put him in that situation. And so I wanted to show her like a beginner thing. So I was like, let me show you how to get out of mount, how to escape, just your basic UPA, trap and roll, whatever your school calls it. But, so I told her to sit on my chest, and she got very nervous. And then, so she sat there, but she left both legs like sitting over on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, you need to straddle my chest. And she was immediately not comfortable, and I could see it. And one of the beauties of being that we can do either private lessons for free or small group sessions for free is that we can take our time. We're not in a rush. We don't need to push her out of her comfort zone right away. You're going to get out of your comfort zone eventually. It happens in jiu-jitsu just by its course. So I was able to get a demonstrator in there and show her how to do this. And then she got a little more comfortable, as I was showing it, like, listen, we'll get this with him. You can see it and see how it works. And then she was like, okay. And I said, but by the end of this, maybe that position isn't comfortable. So what I did is I put her on my back. I said, well, okay, let's do this. You want to learn jujitsu? Let's teach you how to choke me. So I just put her on my back. I let her backpack me, and we
Everybody likes choking.
Yeah, everybody loves getting on your back. Here's a lady who's probably 60, 70 pounds lighter than me, is on my back choking me, and she smiles so big and so happy. She's like, this really works. I'm like, absolutely. And then the next class, okay, well, I wasn't comfortable with that. Can we do a different position? I was like, I will sit here and do a backpack drill every day for a month if that's what it takes to get you in here. I don't care. It's just, we can start slow. We have that ability. It's not like most jiu-jitsu gyms where you can't progress. You have to progress with the class, or whatever the class is teaching. That's what you're doing. We will take the time and work with each veteran individually, because they all have individual backgrounds, traumas, and whatnot. So, and that was a big success story. Now that lady is in here. She's in here 4 or 5 days a week, every day doing. Sorry about that. I had somebody come in. So she's in here 4 or 5 days a week training now every day. So it's great stuff, so we're lucky that we can take the individual time to work with our veterans with that. But those military sexual traumas are no joke. And like I said, I've been terribly shocked. We don't go in depth here. We're not therapists, so I'm not going to, ask them what's wrong with them, but you can usually tell. You can, it's an alarming number of guys too. The studies are out and showing a ridiculous amount of men, and for them to get their confidence back. And I think just being able to get through that bad memory where they couldn't fight somebody off, and now you can, and you got somebody, especially
absolutely. You realize, I think that's one of the first things you realize with jiu-jitsu is, most schools I've been to, and in the military I trained a bit, so I traveled around a bit. There's always some 100-pound girl that just kills me.
Yeah.
Destroys me. And that's the eye-opening effect, is like, wow, she's 100 pounds. I'm supposed to be this big, I lift weights, I do powerlifting, and I'm just getting choked out by someone who, I can't even find them. I can't find a joint. And okay, so with time and training, you can get there. There is a big confidence piece of that, but it must be hard to get people in for that initial session just to learn.
Yeah.
How do you guys figure it out?
Yeah, that's honestly, Chris, has been one of our biggest challenges. And, veterans are different. I mean, at my I help coach at my my home school, where it's, make sure there's a couple vets there, but it's, it's your regular civilians coming in, and it's hard for them to do it too. But then you get the veterans who it's to me, it's ego. And that's the one thing jiu-jitsu is really good at, is helping you with the ego, but you got to get them started. So
right.
I think a lot of veterans, they have this mindset where I can't do that anymore. I have a disability. I have this, I have that, I've heard 100 different excuses from all sorts of people why they can't do it. And, some of it, I think what's helped, one success story, we had another lady who she was like, well, I can't do that. I just came in here to use the treadmill, which is cool. We have a full weight room, treadmill, cardio machines down in our basement. That's awesome. If they want to do that, that's great. And I told her, I said, listen, you ever get done running and are happy? And I'm sure there's some sick people out there that probably are happy when they're done.
Yeah, I'm not one of them, but yeah, I heard they exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people are like, oh God, that was horrible. I'm glad I got the benefit of it, but I really don't want to do this again.
Right.
If you walk to any jiu-jitsu gym, pretty much every single person that walks out of there is smiling, even though they're exhausted, banged up, boo-boos, maybe they got tapped a dozen times. They had a good time, just as far as an activity goes, much less all the mental health benefits from it. So I said, listen, they're all smiling, but you're not. Why don't you try this out? And then I think what helped a lot too was she saw some other female vets on the mats, and she saw some other, and everybody who does jiu-jitsu, it's an inclusive community. We're going to drag you in. But I think it's hard. I think a lot of people too, I think combatives really has ruined, traditional jiu-jitsu.
Oh my God, you get me started. I could go all day about that.
Oh, I know. And yeah, because, and I get, some people did it, some people didn't in their military careers, but I hear it all the time. I dig combatives. I don't need to do this. Okay. You hear that all the time. That's not really true. It's a different style. It's a different thing. But I think a lot of them, it's because they were in their 20s and it was hardcore. I mean, you're going hard at it.
Well, yeah, that's a big difference. I think that's actually something you have to get over. And I've had my own experiences that guys will come in, with the opposite idea, with that meathead mentality, like, oh, I always ask you, hey, have you ever grappled before? Now, I'm not going to go 100% light, but I'm not going to beat up the new guy too bad. And I'll get these guys like, oh, I did combatives. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to be the easiest role ever because you're just going to go aggression. You're just going to go like, I'm going to see red, and knock people out sort of thing. And it doesn't take them long to realize that all those sessions of combatives didn't really make them better. And that's an important piece because we always talk to people about the idea that, yeah, you want to go harder with your buddies, but two sloppy fighters are just going to get sloppier. Right. So when you're on the mat with a black belt or someone who really knows what they're doing, knows how to control that, you realize all that aggression actually is worse for you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to learn to control that because you walk right into a choke, you walk right into a sweep. So yeah, I'm glad you brought up combatives because God, does that give it gives it such a different image than what it really is.
Yeah, and I think that's an obstacle because even if they don't have any disabilities, they're like, I don't want to be that aggressive anymore. And we don't do that here. We'll go as slow, we'll go as hard, we'll go as tough, we'll go as easy as the veteran wants to go. Because some people they just want to, and it builds.
Yeah, it's a good workout.
Later. But we have 3 instructors here. We got myself as a purple belt, and then we have 2 really experienced brown belts. We can slow it down and speed it up. We've been doing it long enough.
Who are your brown belts? Just give them a
brown
shot.
belts. Yeah. So we have our head jiu-jitsu instructor is a guy named Brian Joachim. He's got his brown belt out of Amal Easton School out in Colorado. And now he trains here and teaches also up at Newport Richie Jiu-Jitsu, who's been a big supporter.
Okay.
Professor Mike Geary has been a huge supporter of Fort Valor since we started. And then our other brown belt is Jason Douglas, who is a brown belt under Rob Kahn out in Gracie, Tampa. And both wonderful guys, super laid back and chill. And, I've worked with all types.
Okay.
And
so go ahead.
Yeah, one of the other, I just wanted to follow up on what you said about the aggression. One difference I've noticed with veterans in jiu-jitsu, and it's been, I'd have to ask the other instructors, but for me, it's been 100% of the people here is they all want I don't know, I always say they all want a shot at the title in the first class. I don't know why that is. And I, like I said, I taught and I helped coach at my home gym over in Gracie Clearwater. And they're not too often. I mean, obviously you get the meatheads, the college guys, the big guys that want to come in, they'll do that too. But every single one of the veterans, when I'm showing something, they'll go, I think I can get out of this. And I'm like, you're welcome to try.
Yeah. Good luck. Show me.
Men, and I tell you, Chris, this is men, women, Air Force, Coast Guard. It doesn't matter. It's every single one of them. They all have this picture that they can get me off their back. And, and then they just get tired after 30 seconds. And then they realize that actually works.
Oh, yeah. You gas them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I don't know. I thought of it sometimes like this glory days idea, like I'm going to come in and I'm going to recapture the glory on my first day. Like you may be awesome, but you don't know about 10th Mountain Division combatives. And, McMap guys, the Marine Corps guys used to always come in and try and do some janky chokes that don't really work in jiu-jitsu. And then, you sweep them and you get them on their back and they don't know what to do. And I say, if you're not playing guard at some point, you're not really doing jiu-jitsu. So it's, wrestlers fall into that a lot. They're really good at takedowns, but really bad once what to do from there until they learn and then they're monsters, but that's just how it goes. But I've seen that too. You guys, I think there's a big ego piece. And I don't know if they have to talk themselves up to a jiu-jitsu class. And so they come in like popping Red Bulls in the parking lot or whatever. But then they come in and they learn the hard.
Isn't it Rippets?
Yeah, exactly. 20 little cans or one. Now the PX, you can get those tall cans. I saw them. They're like, I didn't know they came industrial size, but they're 99 cents. So it's a budget monster. So talk to me about overcoming the ego. And
that's the hardest thing. I tell you what, that's your biggest obstacle in life for all facets is that ego, because you have this image of what you can do. And jiu-jitsu, I think the real beauty of it as a martial art to me is that there are no lies. It's nothing but truth there. So if you want to find out whether it works or not, you're going to find out. It will get tested. This isn't like even compared to the military, you don't know until you go to actual combat whether that technique works, that battle drill works, whether your team's set up right or this gear's the right gear. It's very similar here, but we're not going with blanks. We're not doing these simulations. You get to go live, so there's a lot of truth that gets revealed, and then that exposes that ego, and that's a hard thing for people. And veteran or non-veteran, that ego gets in the way. So you have to learn to get it squashed, and this is why Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is one of the most meaningful, but I think one of the harder martial arts to get down, because you're going to go get smashed, and you're going to get. I'm trying to think how many rolls I did before I got my first submission against somebody. Easily I could say 100, maybe. I don't know. I didn't really count. It was not, and that's against somebody who's trying. It's one thing people do, and they watch these videos and they're like, "Oh, I can do that on practice on my buddy." Go try it against a resisting human being who doesn't want.
I'm not going to say any names, but like I got my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu online academy type of thing.
Yeah.
We've had some of those guys pop in, and it's enlightening. I tell people, I used to tell my kids, used to tell my soldiers, the first time you get punched in the face by someone who knows how to punch, redefines you. You learn more about yourself in that moment than you may have learned about yourself in 20 years. And it's usually the biggest, toughest, strongest, most bravado guys that curl up in a ball. You see the fight go on. I use it now. It's knee on chest. I've got a pretty good knee on chest, and I watch people and I see what kind of person they are as that pressure's in. And, you learn a lot about yourself. I know I went through it. We had a brown belt who used to crush me. I was a meathead. He would crush me with that knee on chest till one day I realized, hey, you know what? I need to stop trying to fight my way out of this and figure it out. But yeah, very self-defining.
Yeah. One other aspect of jiu-jitsu and I say this all the time, is you learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I tell the veterans this, and they're like, listen, man, I slept in holes. I slept on the ground. Yeah, listen, man, I was a grunt too. I was 11 Bravo. I slept in plenty of uncomfortable places. I think the difference that jiu-jitsu had for me was I could deal with a lot of the stuff that the 10th Mountain Division throws at you by anger. Anger, aggression, and your buddies.
Yeah.
It's that misery loves company. Like, we would get it out of our systems when things would suck because we had this communal suffering. Jiu-jitsu is a one-on-one thing. That is just you against yourself. It is just like life after the military. So that's a whole different method of dealing with being uncomfortable. I can't run around. Emotion doesn't help me in jiu-jitsu. Aggression doesn't help me in jiu-jitsu. I have to learn to calm down. I learn how to breathe, learn how to relax, and just use my brain, apply the technique at the right moment, and then, escape, submit, whatever I'm trying to achieve. And that's the power. If you're able to achieve that, then you can go out and carry that over to other facets of your life.
I used it in the military in Afghanistan. I became a firm, I guess I was in the cult, but I started, even in actual combat, I started like, okay, here's where the tactical patience comes in. You're under pressure, you're okay, and breathe through the situation. And so I used to use that to explain the difference between force on force combat versus counterinsurgency. One is going to wear you out. One's wrestling, one's jiu-jitsu. And it becomes something you can frame a lot of things in. And then as I get out, I see I can frame even more parenthood. I mean, it really does become, like a friend of mine said, the lens that you view the world. But it's a healthy lens. It's a lens you can control. You were you brought it up. You mentioned a minute ago, and it's something that I've heard a lot too. Is about I've got to be in enough shape, or I've got a disability, like I can't do jiu-jitsu because I'm not physically able. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's the number one excuse I hear from everybody, and I did it myself. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, blah blah blah. Well, you have to adapt, at all times, because it is able to be done. And one of the things that we can do here at Fort Valor is we can help you with adapting to that. All right. One thing I've learned is I've seen all my training partners, my coaches, somebody's got a boo-boo at any given time. They can't use a leg or an arm because something got hurt in training at some point. Maybe they were in a competition, but they still go and train. So I'm like, well, veterans can do that too. They just, they have to overcome that. And one common concern that is a legitimate concern is they're worried about their disability benefits. And
Okay.
that was one of the things I wanted to make sure I shared with your audience, Chris, is we don't diagnose here. All right. So if you come in with PTSD or you don't have PTSD, I don't know that. All right. Unless you tell me, it doesn't matter. And even if you did, I'm not a doctor. None of our instructors are doctors. So because we don't diagnose, we also don't undiagnose. So it won't affect your benefits. So you can come out and participate. It's fine. It's not like you're going and getting it through the VA, because we're not through the VA, where some doctor would come by and give you a questionnaire and say, hey, are your symptoms better or worse? I'm hoping they're better, but I don't sit here and measure that,
Right.
between you and your doctor. So, you don't have to be in shape. You get in shape by rolling. And I think one of the things that our members will tell everyone is, I will get you to the point where you're breathing hard a little bit. All right. But I'm not going to push you much further than that. I want you to keep coming back. All right. Well, I'm not going to throw you in the deep end. And if you want to do more, we'll do more. If you want to get beat down, we can do that. But most people don't. They're like, hey, man, I proved myself already. I don't need to do this stuff anymore. I just want a technique. I just want to learn and protect myself. And so we take it real slow. So, I got guys in here that are Vietnam vets in their 70s training. They don't have they don't do those excuses. They're in here. I got people in here, all kinds of, 100%ers, 70%ers, everybody's got a boo-boo who comes in here. They all have a disability. They all have something that they're struggling with, and they still get on those mats. And I got a lot of respect for that. So I think everybody else, they just kind of use it as an excuse and a crutch in their regular life. I know that sounds tough, but it's the reality. And, they don't want to do something that'll help them, because they lean on that crutch. And
no, I mean, I've gone, I've got a reputation on the gym. I'm always training injured. I'll have a surgery after training, but I think that's the best time to train. Recently I had an elbow surgery and I spent 2 weeks with my arm wrapped up underneath, inside my belt. So I was fighting with one arm, and I was learning some people were saying I was more aggressive. I was choking them out more with one arm than I was with two. But for me, it was a huge growth curve, because now you can't use that. Right. So I'm learning how to think around the problem and get around it, and no one's going easy on me. I mean, I'm a brown belt now. I think the first time I did was a purple belt with some stripes, and there were some white belts, some blue belts that really wanted their payback. So nobody went easy. I mean, you say we're going to roll light, and you roll light for like a minute, and then they're trying to tear your head off.
You're the injured gazelle.
Yeah. And I'll hide my injuries because I don't want people. I learned how to defend it. But the thing I want to get at is, if you go online, you see guys with missing limbs competing regular jiu-jitsu, and they're not in Special Olympics, or they're just the injured people. I've seen blind guys go out and they just start with, the only difference is they start with a grip.
Yep.
And after that, it's a jiu-jitsu fight. And don't sleep on them, because you'll get baseball bat choked to death. And that's something I try to tell people, is that you can continue to fight and train if you're missing limbs. I met a guy, he's missing an arm and a leg, and he's been training with Rob Kahn for years.
Yeah.
And he's a beast. He's learned how to use what he has of that limb as a weapon. So yeah, don't let that stop you from training, right?
Yeah, it's because these things are always going to happen. I mean, most of us, even where we started or our time in the military, it was typically in our 20s, when we're young and invincible, or, we have a different mindset. I'm 41 now. I started training when I was 36. I'm not getting any younger or better. I may improve my body and my health to a certain point, but it's just, as I was gimping around this afternoon, because I got a cramp in my foot and I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. These things, you start snap, crackling, and pop for the next 50 years. I need to learn how to deal with that. All right. And it's not going to be by making excuses and quitting and not even starting something that's good for me, that can help me. So I just need to learn how to adapt and overcome for these things. And jiu-jitsu will teach you that. It teaches that resiliency, and And that's something I don't know if veterans lose it. I don't know what it is. I think I look back at my own transition, and I think I was very resilient. And you just surround civilians, and civilians, they're kind of weak when it comes to resiliency and toughness. You're not surrounded by these killers, so you just kind of like slowly degrade resiliency.
Yeah, I
And
can see that.
yeah, and then you got to build it back up somehow. And some people do it, and everybody does it in different ways. But I think the men and women who are successful in getting back on that war path are those who find an activity that gives that resiliency. And jiu-jitsu is going to do that for you.
Mhm.
You're going to go get tapped 100 times for every one you get. That's the way it goes.
Well, a term I've heard, and I don't like the term, but I hear it a lot, is I got to go punch my man card. Usually be guys been out for a couple years and not feeling as they're in shape. And I know what they're trying to say. They're trying to say they're trying to get that warrior ethos back.
Right.
And you can do that different ways. I mean, I'm one of those guys. Look, if CrossFit makes you happy, do it. If it feels good, I got a friend who does a lot of trail running. If it makes you happy to do it, what brings you balance?
Mm-hmm.
And jiu-jitsu is just one of those ways. But you're fighting. It is, especially when you start getting to a competitive level. I mean, there's those easy rolls go away, and but at the same time, there's an honesty there. There is an honesty. You can't lie to me. You can't tell me. I know within a minute if you're a good guy or not. I know what kind of person you are pretty quick, and I think that's where that bond comes in. That a lot of people miss a lot is that I tell people it's the closest thing to being in a platoon that I can think of, because you're fighting every day, you're pushing every day, you're trying to beat each other up every day, but that person's also giving you their best. And whether they're crushing you or you're crushing them, and some days you're the bar, some days the bear eats you, some days you're the bear, however it goes. But you go through that, and with that, there's a common respect. I hate when people go too easy on me. Like there'll be some, we'll get some visiting, black belts or just monsters, and I know it's going to suck, but don't make it better. Like, give me what you got, and let me know. And then I know where I'm at. That's honest evaluation of myself. And sometimes it's painful, but you get there. But how do you sell? So how do you sell this? So you're out in the community, you're like, we're a new veteran center. This is what we're doing. How do you sell BJJ to someone who's never done it? How do you convince him to step on the mat that first time?
Yeah, a lot of that's just getting them in here to see the facility, and because we don't, that's one of our activities. It's obviously one of our primary focuses, but we have other stuff. Some of the guys come in just to use the weight room. So we do yoga every day at 1 because that's very complementary to jiu-jitsu. So we do a gentle and restorative yoga practice. We got a different yoga instructor who comes in every day at 1:00. Some, they're on the mat already, so I'll sit there and talk them into. I found what works best with a lot of the veterans is once I get them in the door is to, hey, just sit down and watch. You don't have to do anything. You just sit down and watch for a little bit. And I think once they see the pace that we go, we're not killing each other. We're having fun. Everybody's smiling. There's a lot of questions being asked, and just the atmosphere, that gets them back onto the mat. And that's been probably the biggest successful way. And honestly, I think some of it's the culture here too. This is not the VFW. All right. That was, and there's, I go back and forth. The VFW does a lot of good stuff out there, and I have a lot of friends who are in it. But I remember the last one I went to for a friend's birthday party. I got asked to leave because I was swearing. And it's a place for veterans. I'm like, oh, you can't swear here? Yeah, you can do that at Fort Valor. And, it's weird. People are telling stories. One of the reasons we don't have any kids here is because we want veterans to be able to say whatever they want, because that's certainly the way it was when I was in.
Right.
And, there's a certain atmosphere, and people like that. That's what helps build that camaraderie. People teasing each other a little bit between the branches and stuff like that. That's all fun. It's just part of the,
part of being in a platoon.
Yeah. So, to try to go back to your question, to try to get them to start jiu-jitsu, come watch it, tell me why you can't do it. And and I'll sit there and talk to them about it. But I don't force anybody. Listen, if you really don't want to do it, I'm not going to.
Kind of self. I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
But so you guys have yoga.
Yep.
You have a weight room. You got Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I saw that you guys have a computer center people can use.
Yeah, so we have a video game lounge. So
Right.
yeah,
It sounds like Kandahar, kind of. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. So we have these. We got a PlayStation 4 and a Xbox One in there, and because people come to us with ideas, our members, other veterans, outside community partners, they come to us with ideas because we have 6,000 square feet here in this facility. It's huge, and it's free parking here. Everybody hates parking in Tarpon, but you can park on our site for free if you're a member here. So we have the video game lounge because that was an idea that we had because I don't necessarily do it. I'll play it sometimes, but a bunch of my soldiers in my platoon, they get together because we're all spread across the country, and
mhm.
they get on there. They get on Call of Duty and all these other
Oh,
games, and
yeah.
they put the headphones on.
Down the day room.
Yeah,
Day
they start
room
talking a little
locked
shit.
down with tournaments, man. So you guys do that there. They can get on there. They can play over the Wi-Fi. I mean, the LAN. I'm old.
Yeah,
Over the interwebs,
yeah.
you can play friends and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, and like I said, we had a old Marine Vietnam vet that came in. He teaches table tennis. He hates it when I call it ping pong. It's table tennis. He takes it very seriously. So he's a coach for that. So he brought in a couple tables, and we have table tennis at 5:30 every Thursday, 5:30 7:30. Guys can drop in whenever they want, and they got a professional coach there. Because what I didn't understand was during my deployment, we didn't have ping pong tables. We had this crappy old pool table that used to lean to the right a little bit, and
Mhm.
that was about it. But a lot of people, when they were deployed, did have ping pong tables, and they kind of missed that, outlet, and so they can recreate that here. So we have that going on coming up here, and let me look at the date here. On April 10th, we had somebody approach us. They have a nonprofit that teaches guys how to do scale models, like little airplane ships, stuff we did as a
Oh,
kid.
wow.
But yeah, they're finding therapeutic effects for that. So we have the facility. He'll be in that day, offering this activity. We take the guys fishing, camping, all these things, whatever works to bring you in, bring you back with your brothers. Because I think, and I heard it on one of your other podcasts, and I definitely agree with it. I was kind of laughing. It was a very powerful story, but I'm laughing because he's telling about the mistakes he made. And the only reason I was laughing is because I made every single one of those, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I did that. I did that.
Yeah.
And, it's in a big thing that you get from jujitsu or from a community center like this is you are not alone. You don't have to go it alone. You build that support structure. So what I really think is the powerful part of Fort Valor is we have that support structure available and ready for you. Um, because I had it with my teammates at my
Mhm.
home gym, and that's really where I fell in love with jujitsu because I got down in a hole for a while, Chris, and I stopped training. You get in that depression where you want to seclude yourself, and one of the things, it wasn't the only thing, but one of the things that snapped me out of it was right when I was at my darkest. I swear that's when my friends from my gym, my jujitsu training partners, started texting me and be like, "Where are you at, man? I haven't seen you in a while. I want you to train. Come back here. I need you to beat up on me." Or it was just all these messages,
Yeah.
and and these are from people. Now I'm going to kind of circle back to the jujitsu thing for a second
Sure.
because I love jujitsu. Is one of the commonalities with the military is you have a hodgepodge of people in a jujitsu gym. You got people from all over the place. Now, granted, most of them are local here now, but it's a lot of different backgrounds. You're going to have lawyers, accountants. You're going to have guys who are mechanics. You're going to have women who are stay-at-home moms. You got all kinds of different backgrounds, and everybody comes together based on a single mission, a single love, and that's jujitsu. And I found that to be one of the closest things that you bond over in a jujitsu gym, And then when we got into Fort Valor, it kind of went one step further, where I'll just flat out say it. I mean, the infantrymen, we are arrogant about the infantry. It's kind of a joke all the time. You see the memes, but it's pretty true.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So, we think we're better than everybody and this and that and the other. Nobody else has anything to contribute, yada, yada, yada. I just saw a video the other day where the guy's like, we're the ones who killed terrorists, not you, and that you get that kind of mentality, but
Yeah. Good artillery has a different view, but we'll leave that. We'll
yeah,
take that.
exactly. And, one of the beauties of jujitsu with different branches, I kind of joke with my friends. I said, I'm becoming, MOS or branch tolerant,
Yeah.
because, and part of it's my role here. Obviously, I'm, as a deputy director, I have to help, and I want to help everybody from different branches because we all served and we all had value. But jiu-jitsu really has evened that out. If
Yeah,
you're
I've
doing
said
jiu-jitsu
before
with
that
me,
you have lawyers and mechanics, and I've had cops and ex-cons. It doesn't really matter. You put the gi on, you put the belt on, and you wouldn't even know. I mean, it really is an equal setting for people. The only difference is who's good at jujitsu, and that other shit. I get beat up by people. I'm like, you walk in, you're like, oh, well, I'm successful. I'm a major. Obviously, you're going to submit. And then the guy who washes cars is crushing me, just crushing me. And that, we talked earlier about crushing your ego. Yeah, that stamp, that bullshit identity just goes to the curb. It's gone because you just got it choked out of you. And now you're just a person. He's a person, I'm a person, and you get to know each other at a different level. And I don't think you get that in a lot of other venues.
No.
So, yeah, it's really an equalizer. So you guys do the jiu-jitsu. You've got the all the activities. You also, I saw you guys have a job fair coming up.
Yeah, so on May 3rd from it's 2 to 4 here, we got a job fair. Our primary host for that is Empath Health, and we have the Hillsborough Sheriff's Office already committed as well, and a couple other employers. So, because that's one of the things I think probably the hardest thing for a veteran to do once they get out of the military is finding that new mission. And all my friends, all the guys I serve with, everybody kind of, well, not everybody, but most of them stumbled around for a long time. And
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. And so we're here to help that. It's okay. You don't like what you're doing right now. Don't let that be the thing that pushes you over the edge. Let's go find something else. Oh, I'm not qualified for this. Okay, let's get you trained. One of the things I miss about being an there's a lot of things I miss about being an NCO in the Army, but one of the things was being able to help those soldiers. That's one of the most rewarding things. So if it's a matter of, it's just problem solving. Okay, you don't want to do this anymore. Let's go find you how to get you the schooling to go do that. Let's get you a new job. So we have this job fair coming up, and I got to be honest with you, Chris. I think a lot of this stuff, and I'm been helping out veterans for a couple of years. I think the veterans got to take a little more ownership in their stuff. They come out, and I wish I would see them jump on things a little bit more. They keep waiting for somebody to hand stuff to them. I think a little bit more than I ever expected once I started doing this job. And I'm like, you can't just hand somebody a piece of paper and say, write my resume. You have to be an active participant.
Yeah, I'll review your resume and help it, but you got to take the first step. But what about, like, say, have you guys, a conversation I had today, my cousin just retired. He was a Navy chief and he got out. He was a damage control guy, but he doesn't have certs, all the certs you need to get your jobs. Do you guys have connections to help guys that already have skills get certified in those skills so they can move on? Is that something you guys can?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell people, bring your questions to me. All right, listen, we got a team here. We got people we got members. So all of our members, to be a member here, it's 100% free, but we ask that they volunteer 3 hours a month to help their brothers and sisters out here. All right. So we are finding that we have members that work for the VA, that work for different companies, that work for this agency, that agency, and we leverage that team to get the answers to those questions. So if somebody's got a skill set and they're like, how do I get certified in it? We're going to find out. And it's not that bullshit stuff that you call the VA and they're like, call this number. All right. We're going to help you get on the phone. And if I have to sit there and listen to the damn call, the music with you, then that's what we're going to do. We got a whole separate room just for that, and that's the kind of, we'll work on it together, but yeah. And I think that's something I wish our veterans would do better at. It's not they quit right away, but they get very frustrated very quick.
Well, we're sold some shit when we get out, right? We're told, oh, everybody wants to hire the military, and you're going to have these jobs waiting for you. And then we think we have our ERB or ORB in our hand, and we think, all right, hire me. You've still got to sell yourself.
Yep.
You've still got to do that. And something I learned I've had a steep learning curve getting in the career field myself. And what I do is that, that veteran ticket doesn't it gets you a cup of coffee, and it might, if you're equally skilled with someone else, you might get a leg up, but nobody's just hiring you just because you're a veteran. Because we're full of veterans. There's lots of them. And I'll be honest, some veterans give other veterans a bad name.
Yep.
You know, so you still got to get out there and prove yourself. But how do you do that? That's a big question. Where do I start? It's a big thing to chunk down is how do I take this? Here's me, just got out. I want to be a contractor, but I have no idea where to start. And everyone my age has been doing this for so long, so they've got this leg up. How do I get there? And I mean, it's a valid thing. It is overwhelming.
Yeah.
The smart play is before you get out, you start doing that, but that rarely happens, you know. So then you get a lot of veterans who are really just overwhelmed with what do I do. But having a resource center like yours, where even if you don't have the answer, you can reach out and find someone to help them get the answer. That's a great start point. I don't know what to do. Okay, go to Fort Valor and talk to those guys and see what they say.
Yeah, and we'll come up with a plan. I mean, that's and because it is overwhelming. I mean, we had a gentleman came in here the other day. He was looking to get, I think it's called CHAMPA. He's getting health benefits for his wife, and he's a older Vietnam vet. He's not getting on the computer. He gets on there and it looks like Greek to him. So he said he spent a couple hours on some, 800 number, couldn't get the answer. So, and that was an easy one for us to do for him. That's an easy one. But some of those guys, like to use your example, you want to be a contractor? Okay, listen, we have community partners that are donors. We have community partners that provide other services to us. We work with them. We network with them. Let's go sit down with them. Oh, you need a contractor's course? Let me set you up here, Hey, guess what? I used to be the president of the National Association of the Modeling Industry. I can probably put you in touch with 10 general contractors right now who would love to hire veterans. What is their path? I can tell you how they got from point A to point B. And if that's something we need to replicate, is it something you have to go back to college for? And we answer those questions, come up with a couple different action items and, try to simplify that, And that's one beauty that, I always said that's one of my strongest skill sets is I worked with enough infantry guys who are either incredibly smart or not the brightest tools in the shed, but tough as nails. And I will make a plan that you understand. I can communicate it and break it down simply enough that you can follow those steps. But then it's on the veteran who has to go forward with it. They're the ones who have to run with it.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about what you guys do. And one of the things that I've had it's easy comparison to compare you guys with like the VFW and other organizations who, frankly, and I'm just talking for me, everyone I've ever been to seems depressing. I've never been to a VFW that didn't seem kind of run down, a little depressing and behind the times. My personal belief, and I can't speak for everyone, just the ones I've been to, it's really locked in an era that doesn't appeal to younger veterans. It's a hall, it's a bar, but I don't see the programs you guys offer that are actually for a lot of young veterans, or not even just young veterans, but modern veterans, get out with a different mindset. And you guys are offering something different that, it isn't all just smoky, sad, depressing bars. You can go work out and train. And that's what a lot of veterans I meet are more into. So that's really cool. You guys offer that. And just, as we're coming to the end here, but what is the importance of being in a veteran community, veteran group, in your words?
In my word, I think it's probably the most important thing that you can, I didn't do it myself. I'll be honest with you. When I got out of the Army, I had that typical infantry guy. Oh, you're not an infantry guy? I'm not going to hang out with you. I don't even want to talk to you. You did this and that and the other. And I just kind of rode solo for the next like 15 years, I think, something like that. And because it wasn't that important to me, I didn't realize that I missed that. And the thing that I missed the most was I'm not alone. Most of my guys, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, like my chain of command or my NCOs around me, they aren't answering all my questions, but they were there to support me. They were there to help me. They were there to listen, and you just don't have that once you're out. So you got to go find it, because there's people, I got a wonderful girlfriend, but I'm going to use terms that she's not going to understand. She has no, framework. She didn't serve. So, I need to go find somebody who understands what that means,
It is a different culture and a different language. That's absolutely true. And you kind of become, I've been really into that concept of the tribe lately. I read that.
Absolutely.
That younger book, I think it was. And yeah, you are without your tribe. Tribe has shared cultures and values, shared language, and you've got all that in there, or cult, you know, you pick a few, bounce them out, you know, but you guys do allow a continuation of that tribe.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
It
go ahead.
allows you to form those. You know, one of my best friends here was from a veteran organization. And, you know, and that's one of the things I didn't realize I was even missing that until I got back with him, you know, and I understand, you know, we got to know each other a little bit. And now, honestly, when things are pretty dark for one of us and we're having one of those days, you know, we call the other dude up and we're like, hey, listen, man, I need to go fishing. And that's kind of been our thing, is like, we call it saltwater therapy. We get out here. It's
Oh,
lovely here in Florida. You know,
yeah.
we go out there and we go slay some fish. Sometimes we don't even catch anything.
A block from the pier, right? I mean,
Yeah, we're 2 blocks off the sponge docks here in Tarpon.
okay.
So me and him, we get out, and that's, you know, and it's been our thing. But I wouldn't have made that relationship, and it's really helped both of us. I think it's kept both of us away from that edge a lot. I wouldn't have done that had I not tried to get out there and hang out with other veterans a little bit. And I don't hang out with all of them, but you know, that was one relationship that was very valuable with me, and I wouldn't have had that had I not gotten. And frankly, that was somebody who forced me to go to that veterans organization I didn't want to go to. And you know what? I took a lot of value out of it. And yeah, you just can't go it alone, guys. I mean, it's just, please don't. You're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Well, you guys have set up a really good model. I mean, I'd like to see, you know, if you guys don't expand other people to take this model you guys have, because I'd love to see something like this everywhere. I mean, I really wish you guys were closer, but I'm going to try and get out here and get my 3 hours a month myself. I'll make the drive. I've got some houses in Clearwater I manage. I'll try and schedule them out.
Yeah.
So if I want to find out more about your programs, more about your schedules, and when you guys do it, where do I go?
The best way to keep in touch with us is to get on our Facebook page. You know, go to @Fort Valor. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, but really our Facebook is where most of the interaction is. We also have our website, www.fortvalor.org. But you know, yeah, we're on Facebook a couple times a day. Anything that's new and popping, or if we have events coming up, like this coming Saturday, we have our Forst Responders Appreciation Day. So we're going to have a bunch of food. That's Bayou Cafe is a local Tarpon restaurant. They were gracious enough to donate some food for us. So from 12 to 5, we're going to be out here. And because we're open to first responders as well, because they struggle with a lot of the same issues as veterans do.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a new thing for you guys, and now you're allowing first responders in as well. You don't just have to be a veteran.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a lot of, you know, a lot of veterans are drawn to that first responder type work just because, you know,
yeah, absolutely.
And,
Yeah, you're serving people. You know, you're part of something bigger. So you're not chasing a dollar. I can see it. It's an easy crossover.
Yeah. So yeah, we're having our First Responders Day this coming up Saturday, April 6th from 12 to 5. We'll have some free food. We're doing yoga at 1. Then we're going to have a jiu-jitsu kind of an in-house seminar. You know, free for any veteran who wants to come out, you know, and obviously free for our first responders as well.
All right. So they got you online. You have what's your email if someone wanted to send you something private?
Yeah. If somebody wants to send me something, it's Jeff, JEFF @fortvalor.org is going to be the best way to get in touch with me personally. You can also, like I said, reach out through our Facebook page or message our website.
And you guys are very responsive with the PMs, you know, real quick. So, you know, if anyone who's listening, PM that, you know, they don't go to the trash bin. So, all right, man. Is there anything last parting words you want to say? Anything you want to add on before we ended up?
No, I mean, honestly, I just want to give a shout out to our founder, Miss Allie Sacules. Listen, a lot of the reasons why this place is different and what's working well for the veterans is her vision. She wanted to create a place that wasn't that dark, dingy, you know, this is not your dad's VFW. Okay. You know, we wanted to create a positive, you know, healthy environment, and, you know, but we can have a little fun while we're in here. All right. So we get there. You're going to hear some inappropriate jokes. It's fun, you know, and we swear a little bit. Everybody's smiling. You know, it's just a great time to be had. So please come on out here and check us out.
Awesome. All right, Jeff. Well, hey, thank you for being on the podcast. We appreciate everything. If you're listening, check out. Oh, and is there a way for people to donate, or do you guys do fundraising?
Yeah, if you go on our website, either email me if it doesn't work, but go on our website. There's a donate button, and you can use PayPal and get some, or you can just mail it to us. You know, our location, we're 601 Hope Street in Tarpon Springs. So if you want some, I thought that was the best place when we got to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah.
Yeah, you want some hope? Well, we live on Hope Street every day.
Awesome. Great way to end it. Hey, thanks a lot for being on the show. I appreciate everything. If anyone listening, please go check out Fort Valor, see what they're all about, and support them. We need more of this. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, Chris.